This episode of The Edge is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet, and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek.fm at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/trekfm. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international program of the nonprofit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode, join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type BABEL into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
You're listening to Trek FM.
What have you done out there on the edge of Federation space?
Hello and welcome to Tracks from the Edge, Trek FM's Star Trek Discovery commentary podcast, where we do audio commentaries for all 15 episodes of Star Trek Discovery. I'm Mike, and today I'm joined by Sarah. How's it going, Sarah?
Hello, it's going great.
Thanks for joining us today. We're going to be taking a look at episode 4 of Discovery, The Butcher's Knife Cares Not for the Lamb's Cry. Did I get that right?
You did, yeah. The names are on point for this series. They're pretty great.
Yeah,
I've been enjoying that.
And this is, the second longest title in Star Trek history, so good for you guys. All right, so we're going to be starting, as usual, after the streaming service logo or whatever it is, so after the CBS All Access logo or the Netflix logo or whatever. Once you get past that, we'll be in black, a black screen. It's about 7 seconds in on the CBS app. And we'll give a countdown if you're ready, Sarah.
I'm ready.
All right. We'll start this up in 3, 2, 1, start. Okay, there's the Discovery, previously on Star Trek Discovery. And yeah, okay. So I still don't quite understand why she got the life sentence for mutiny here, but I guess it's the first time.
I kind of, put that on like the first mutineer Starfleet's ever had. So they're like really want to make an example of her. So
setting precedent. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing what happened in the last episode, and I think what's really kind of interesting as we are discovering here is that things which maybe seem to be one-offs in a way, or which in previous incarnations of Star Trek would be one-offs, like the tardigrade monster, they're going to be things which are really important to this show, and I think that that's super cool, the way that they're building on top of, what works as a standalone episode, for the next quote-unquote standalone episode. It's a
really tight show. Like, the writing is really, referential and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah. It really suggests that it's all planned out. And here we have this cool opening shot where they're pulling out of this mysterious landscape with all this stuff, and it's revealed that it is the inside of a replicator.
I thought that was really cool because we've never seen the process of replication before, and I honestly thought this was some, alien planet, but nope.
This is what bothers me, though. I don't know. Maybe this is just me, but you zoom out of this thing, and you see like the stitching and everything on it, and I'm like, if it's replicated, then why is it stitched together? Mm-mm. I mean, like Nike's made a big deal about making these like seamless uppers for their shoes and everything because the technology has advanced to that point. If you're like creating stuff on like the molecular level, as we just saw, why do you have a bunch of pieces stitched together? I mean, I guess it's just a stylistic thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, a costume design decision because, the costume designer is like, these stitches look amazing. And they do. They're really nicely stitched garments.
That's definitely true. I think these costumes look really cool.
They're gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like if I were to make a Starfleet outfit, it'd probably be this one.
Yeah. It's nice. And here we have Cadet Tilly.
I love her. She's so funny.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
She's just darling, which is nice to have in a show with a lot of like weighty subject matter.
Yeah, and she's the complete opposite of Burnham, which is cool. I mean, I think the two of them will play off of each other pretty well.
Yeah, I like them a lot. So I'm feeling bad.
And get something that was willed to Burnham from Georgiou.
Yeah, that's tough. That's heavy.
But that does bring up kind of an interesting question. As someone was questioning the fact that Starfleet would just leave the Shenzhou out there, in the middle of nowhere with, a Klingon ship by it and everything. And I was like, well, I don't think that that's Federation space anymore. I think that the Klingons probably took over that area. But if that's the case, then how did they get the telescope to her? I don't know.
They probably combed the ship, but it's also kind of, I love his thread ganglion.
Yeah.
This is a good. These two also have a really great interaction that I like to see. And
we've already seen their relationship change a whole bunch, just in these 4 episodes, and I imagine it's going to grow even further as the series progresses. So that's pretty cool.
I love that he tries really hard to hide how he's feeling, but he just literally cannot.
Yeah, I was wondering, I'm like, why doesn't he just wear like a baseball cap or something?
He's proud of his emotions, ultimately, I think.
So here we're into a Wrath of Khan type of training simulation, which I have to say, they didn't really fool me on this one. They fooled me on the landscape, but not on the training thing. But
for a second, I was like, oh man, fighting stuff, and then I was like, I bet it's a simulation because he's going to turn around and be like, "You're all dead," because that's his character.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of, tipped their hand, I think probably intentionally by not having it be red alert, on the turbo lift or anything like that. So he definitely is tough when it comes to his management style. Yeah.
He's a bit of a monster. I'm gonna, it's that lesson that everybody talks about every time you talk about war, like that one person who was like victory at all costs. And so it's an intense element to have in Starfleet because we've never seen a Starfleet that wants that.
Yeah, especially on a science vessel, where most of these people are just like, I'm not into this war stuff at all, Yeah. I think this is kind of an interesting it's visually very striking, but also the idea of like, we're being energy efficient, not turning these lights on until people walk through the hallways, like the coolers at Target,
cool. Yeah. It's a nice ship. The design of the ship is very cool.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And here we have his menagerie, which is cool. And, I like all the little sort of like Easter eggs in there and everything. But those Cardassian voles have been sitting on that table for a few days now. I imagine they're starting to be rather ripe. I imagine it doesn't smell too good in there.
It's creepy. He's creepy. he's like, I'm gonna keep all these deadly weapons and little dead creatures. That, isn't weird at all, right?
Oh, and there's the
monster.
Tardigrade.
Yeah.
Which people online seem to be calling Kitty Kitty, which I like after... although here they name it Ripper. So... And they were saying online after this episode aired that in some incarnation of this show, there was talk about basically making that character one of the crew members. Like, I don't know how. He had a name and everything. And they said that they have concept art and stuff. Certainly an interesting take if they had decided to go that route, but also certainly suggests that this guy is going to be around for a while. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah, he seems like this episode made me feel like this tardigrade creature, Kitty Kitty, is a big part of what the storyline's going to end up being. You know?
Yeah. So here we have the opening credits. What do you think about the opening credits?
I actually really like it. It's got a very 60s kind of design vibe to it.
Oh, yeah.
I like the song a lot. And I mean, if we face it, this is the kind of credit sequence that everybody has been using. Like, this is like the really expensive credit sequence that people like nowadays, you know? So. But
it's awesome. I'm definitely one of those people. So we just saw a credit for Jesse Alexander and Aaron Eli Colite, who are the writers of this episode. And I have to say that was a big shock for me because I was under the impression that they had left when Fuller left. And to see them writing episode 4, I don't know. It just really, really surprised me. But whatever. And this episode directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi, which wasn't really a surprise since he's, I think, kind of their lead director. And he's done a lot of TV stuff. He also directed the movie The Fourth Kind. Okay, there's the debris field and all that good stuff. And there's that Klingon ship. So we missed the Klingons. Well, aside from the shush guy, we didn't have any Klingons last week. And here they're back. I mean, this Vogt guy, he really does seem to have a big role, even though all of the market, I mean, for all of the characters that they, had been talking about, being a part of this show only to die in like 5 minutes or whatever. This is one guy where they didn't say anything about him. And now it looks like he's kind of a major character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's great. I like him a lot, and I like her a lot, too. Yeah. Like, they are a really compelling dynamic. They're compelling characters. I'm really excited to learn more about them.
Yeah, I mean, like, the way that they described the Klingons early on, really gave, I don't know, almost like a false impression of what their relationships were going to be. And I mean, I think that's part of, what this show is really good at in terms of the marketing is like misdirection and just sort of making you let go of any, preconceptions and just, go with the flow, which is obviously how it should be. Right. But, I don't know. I mean, the way that their relationship is developing here, and him talking about like, man, you're really much more qualified than I am to, for this job or whatever. And she's like, no, just let me hang back and do the dirty work or whatever. It's almost like The Wire with was it Stringer Bell? She's like the Idris Elba of Klingons or something.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool.
That fits. Yeah. She's great. She's very like action forward character, which is good for, female characters.
Yeah, for sure. I think this show is really making an effort, to be diverse in every way it can be, which is...
And we really have never seen a lot of female Klingons previously, not to the extent that she seems to play a part in this.
Yeah, I mean, the big ones are probably, B'Elanna and Kalar, right? And both of them are just half Klingon.
Half Klingon, yeah.
And then there's the Duras sisters, but they're so cartoonish in a lot of ways that they don't really count.
Yeah, that's my like biggest memory of female Klingons, especially in like Next Gen, is they're just kind of a joke thrown in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So here's Landry. I love Rekha Sharma so much. You know, I mean, she's so awesome on Battlestar Galactica. I was really excited to see her in this show, and I'm really excited to see where they take this character.
Yeah, look at that pretty monster.
I mean, they obviously have. Well, I don't know. I mean, Landry and Lorca, I think, are rather short-sighted with the creature. You know, obviously wanting to weaponize it, where she's seeing, some greater value there. But it's interesting. Like as we progress with the story, and the clock starts ticking, and Lorca's like, everybody needs to be on point here, and we need to figure out how to make this drive work. Like they keep on sort of like cutting back to them, with Landry being like, come on, let's get going. But really what they're doing here, like their goal, weaponizing this thing, really has nothing to do with getting the drive working. So it's almost like a false urgency, which ends up, obviously benefiting the story. But at this point, we don't know that it's going to help them with their goal.
Yeah, and I mean, Lorca and Landry are going like this thing like ripped through Klingon battle armor. And a spaceship, like we need to know what it's made of. And tardigrade fans will know that they're like the toughest little critters in the universe. So, like a giant one, that would be pretty outstanding.
I have to say I'm not too familiar with tardigrades. They're like microscopic. Is that right?
They can actually survive for a while in the vacuum of space.
Oh wow.
So basically, like popular scientific like agreement is that these are kind of like alien creatures because they can survive literally anywhere. Because they have these special abilities built within them to be able to go into almost like body shutdown, but then come back to life when they are in an environment where they can thrive.
Interesting.
So, they're super amazing creatures.
That end transmission thing that we just saw with the Federation logo, I saw a number of people online freaking out because that logo comes from like some sort of obscure technical manual from the 70s or something like that. And now they've made that design canon. So
I think we have that technical manual actually.
Really?
My husband's a big fan of. I'll have to dig it out and take some pictures. I love this man. He's
Stamets?
Yeah.
Anthony Rapp? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's a very strong character considering, and kind of with that like tragic background he's got. He's like, I'm a scientist. I don't do war stuff, but he was conscripted, We've seen that story over and over again in reality, in our real stories of war,
Yeah, when they introduced him, obviously that first scene, he was in such conflict with Burnham that and he really was being kind of a jerk, and I think that was really off-putting to a lot of people, myself included. But as we've just seen over the past episode and a half, seeing the growth of this character, and also really kind of understanding where it is he's coming from, I like him a lot more now than I did at the start.
Yeah. And there's the device that they grabbed off the ship last time. I had questioned, because I was like, they really were like, oh, grab the device. And then they never mentioned it last episode. And so now it's here. So
yeah. And
I was like, I bet that plays a part.
that's just so cool to me that they're doing that stuff, because they could have easily just been like, while we were over there, this is one of the things that we, grabbed. But no, they're like, this thing's sitting in the chamber. What is it? I don't know. Just take it,
Yeah.
And that's really cool. So here we get to meet Cole, the other big Klingon from the House of Kor.
They all look amazing. I just love their look on this one. So contrite for a Klingon.
He's rather devious, as we shall see, but I don't know. I'm curious to see how this all ties together, like who ends up with who and all that stuff, because he's obviously trying to make a play for, I think, the seat, Emperor seat, or whatever you want to call it here, and I wonder if he's going to succeed.
He wants that cloaking technology. Like he's coming back, he's like, and we see that cloaking technology later.
Yeah.
With the Klingon ships. So
I have to say, I was having trouble kind of tracking what their problem was here, because they're like, we've been sitting out here for 6 months, starving and without a power supply, and L'Rell is like, well, let's just get the one from the Shenzhou, and here he is, complaining about it. This guy just showed up. You would think with that cloaking device being, obviously a huge piece of the puzzle, that the other Klingons would be like, let's just go and bring some dilithium with us so that we can get the hell out of here. Why would they leave these dudes stranded for 6 months?
I don't know. Maybe Klingons might scavenge their dilithium drives, maybe. I don't know. I'm interested to see if that fleshes out more.
Yeah, that could be. Although they seem to be very particular. They're like, we can't put a human drive into our ship. That's, that's blasphemy. So, but that's also the scene. We didn't talk about the fact that, they just casually drop the fact that the Klingons ate Georgiou. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people who are like, that's going too far, that, you're taking that too far. I don't have a problem with
we
it.
have a very long history of cannibalism in humanity, it's not, it's taboo, but it does happen, and it's, a cultural thing, and you have to think that the Klingons are a different culture. You have to think that, there's no reason why they should stick to human taboo.
And they've talked about, eating their enemies or whatever, on numerous occasions in other series. So why not?
Yeah. Whoops. That's not where they meant to go.
But that was pretty. I mean, I know that we don't know much about this show, but when the disco started spinning, when the disco ball started spinning, and then that whole thing happens, I'm just like, oh my god, what's going on here? This is the most amazing thing ever. I don't know. I did not see that coming at all.
That moment where he hits his nose on the console, I laughed at that. I was like, oh. That's so realistic, though. The level of realism was like, yep, you'll almost kill yourself hitting your nose on something sometimes. But yeah, no, and the design of the ship makes so much more sense when you realize it has to gyrate, along with the. So, people who were like, that's a weird, because I've heard some criticism of the separate rings of the ship, but it makes a lot of sense when you see it do its spore transport.
I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm. I love Michael. She's like, no, this is not an angry creature.
I mean,
the look. Just
it really sort of gets to, the heart of Star Trek, right? And the idea of, don't judge creatures or people or anything by, what you see on the surface, and there's always more to it, and all that stuff. And I think it's cool.
I love all the sexual tension between him and the Doctor. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, we finally get to see Wilson Cruz here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting in the show to kind of see the characters who slowly open up and show the values of Starfleet.
Yeah.
That we know eventually come to be the core values of Starfleet, and the characters who don't, who seem to hold a lot of power right now in this, version of Starfleet.
But even they're not cut and dry. I mean, like, there's the scene where, the Admiral is talking to Lorca, and she shows him the video. And when he's watching that video, I'm sure part of it is like this opportunistic thing where he's like, now's my chance. But like, just looking at the look on his face, his reaction to watching the video, I mean, I really got the impression that he wants to help these people, Mm-hmm. So
I absolutely think he does, but is he putting humanity first above, exploration and, other cultures, other people they're gonna have to get along with?
Yeah, I don't think he's necessarily that tremendously interested in it. I think he's more interested in winning the war, but yeah.
She's got blood on his face, like, yeah, that's how I roll.
And this is pretty hardcore, where he's playing.
That is such a manipulative and just cruel move, because that's tearing everyone apart, and a lot of times that kind of, we can see, I don't think that's a good idea, Landry.
Yeah.
Because, it's pushing her to apparently, this just, Michael's like, no, this is
maybe not the best idea in the world.
Yeah. It's like, I got a gun and a knife. That'll work, right? It's too much of a provocation. Playing those sounds of people dying. That'll push anyone to, oh, geez.
This is pretty brutal. I mean, the sound that she makes, I don't know. It's like something straight up out of Jurassic Park,
Oh, God. Yeah. And that is.
And then I love the fact that, like Burnham, she's really kind of realizing what's going on with this creature, and knows that turning up the lights all the way will, save her, kind of. I mean, that's a very logical thing to do.
Yeah, she's a xenoanthropologist. Like, she knows how to handle, animals and alien creatures. And so, like, she really is the right person to discover, but there it is. Abandoned ship.
It's cool seeing the Shenzhou, because, we saw it in all of its glory for, 2 episodes or whatever, and we know that we're going to be coming back to it, whether it's in flashbacks or whatever, but, you've got these sets and stuff like that, and it's, although I'm sure this is all CGI, but, it's cool to see them do that Star Trek thing of, like, reuse what you have, but in weird, cool ways,
Yeah.
It's like we haven't seen the last of the Shenzhou, and here it is again, but it's not at all what we were seeing the first time around.
Yeah. I think it's cool, going back to, kind of abandoning the ship. One thing that I thought was kind of beautiful about that was that, when our military vessels go down at sea, we still leave them out there. And, if you've ever seen a sunken ship, it's a very haunting kind of, it's a haunting experience. So it is kind of, to me, that seeing the Shinjo like floating out in space dead like that is kind of evokes that haunting ship graveyard feel. So I thought it was really effective in this scene.
Yeah, and I guess thinking about it like that, maybe that's what they were thinking by leaving it out there. Maybe it was intentionally left out there as like a grave or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we don't pull those up out of the water. They're just left there.
Mm-hmm. There's a bit of sexual tension going on between these two, too, you know?
The cute little kind of romantic, very, very sincere, you know, very...
It's like when Harry met Sally, but with Klingons.
It is. I'll have what she's having. And this is where he's like, look, like, I thought that revealed a lot about his character to be like, you know, he's not typical Klingon, like, yeah, I'm better than you, that's why I got it. He's like, look, you are clearly more qualified than I am. Like, is this, you know, does that make you angry? And she's like, no, man. You know, like, it's a cool dynamic between them.
And they're figuring out their place in all of this. Like, you know, she's the enforcer, but, you know, he's the guy who maybe has the charisma or whatever it is to bring everyone together, even though he might not be the guy who can execute, you know, perfectly. But together, you know, they make a good team.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have a lot of mutual respect for one another, which to me just really deepened them as characters and like gave you that kind of connection to them that we needed.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Michael in her lab. I was personally shocked that Landry died.
I thought she'd last a little bit longer.
I thought she was going to be like a thing in this show, but
you'd think, I mean, you know, head of security and everything during a war. Yeah.
She was super gung ho. Let's kill stuff. So in like Star Trek language, I guess that's not a surprise that she went pretty quick.
Yeah, and people really didn't like her. I mean, I think more than anything, in terms of complaints, people were complaining about her character. I don't know. I thought she was cool.
I don't know. I liked her.
Yeah, me too.
I like that. Like, I was like, yeah, she's a go-getter. She is like, she's going to make some stupid mistakes, and clearly she made a huge, big mistake that killed her.
Yeah.
But, you know... So, I love that, like, so it's like, oh, we're being nice to each other. We're making friends. And she was like, no, I kind of just use you to see how much of a threat my pet is.
and then when he calls her on it, she's just like, what did you want me to do? You know?
Yeah.
Like why do you have a problem with this? I mean, clearly we're trying to do this thing, right?
That's her Vulcan side. Like it's great because she does, as an actor, kind of like remind me a lot of Spock, who was her foster brother growing up.
Yeah,
you know, because he had so many moments in the original series when he was like, "But what's wrong with that?" And all the humans are like, "I cannot believe," you know, like.
Yeah.
And there's Tilly, the only one on the ship nice enough to extend pure friendship to Michael. It's sweet to see them, you know, interact.
I'm surprised they wouldn't give her access to the sport. I mean, I guess it's that whole thing that Landry was talking about, where it's like, we're not trying to train this thing or whatever, we're trying to use it. Mm-hmm. But it seems like in her research, giving her some spores would be a reasonable thing to do.
Well, they're pretty convinced it has nothing to do with the spores.
Yeah.
She's the only one who has tried that, you know, who's made that connection so far.
Yeah, this guy's cute. I hope they
He's adorable.
I hope they make a stuffed animal out of him.
Yeah, they do have like tardigrade stuffed animals, but none of Kitty Ripper specifically. So, but he would make a cute one. It's just a really cool moment.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like an animal person, you're like, oh.
So, I mean, this is cool because it's like all the stuff that we saw, which was super mysterious in the last episode, is now being, explained in a way,
Yeah.
And putting all the pieces together and just makes sense. I'm still kind of confused because they're like, well, it came from storage, with all the mushrooms or whatever. So it was just there to, grab some mushrooms and got, I guess, caught in the whatever. But are they saying that it like grew or like it? I mean, because that's a pretty big thing to miss when you're beaming on like a bunch of frozen mushrooms or whatever.
So it was there to find the mushrooms, but the mushrooms that they had been growing were spores.
Okay.
So the mushrooms are what the spores become, and they of course have them in their, they have a different kind of plant, but they're both producing the same spores. So what the tardigrade was looking for were those spores.
I guess what I'm saying is like, what did the tardigrade transport on there? Just like they're trying to do?
That's what I understood, yeah. Oh. What I understood was that he transported himself onto that because they have this symbiotic relationship. And
so he can do that. He can, yeah. Okay. See, that makes sense. All right.
That's what I
got it.
Because as we see in this moment, he just wanted to be around his spore buddies.
I mean, it really is kind of like a dog, like rolling around in the snow or something like that,
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's that like instant happiness. Like, yeah, this is exactly where I want to be. So, look at him go.
I'm not sure how well the effects hold up here with the tardigrade rolling around in the thing, but that's okay. Whatever.
Yeah. I think they're pretty good for a CBS television show.
That's true.
I think that's about as nice as the effects can get on CBS.
Yeah, I guess they've just been at such a high standard overall that whenever there's a little glitch, I'm like, what's wrong with you guys for not being perfect?
I know, like. But then you watch like a couple episodes of 48 Hours and they have like graphic artifacting all over the screen and shoddy, and you're like, okay, yeah, CBS still not at the highest standards.
So here's Cole making his power play.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can't really blame the starving Klingons for wanting a good meal, but, I
mean, you can, because it's like, they're Klingons. They never really were like, yeah, this cool thing, like they still, they're like, our traditional way of life is let's go fight things and eat a lot. So,
yeah,
it's kind of like, we tried this thing, it didn't pan out, we're hungry. Clearly the old way is the best way.
Yeah. This did fake me out here. I thought that she really was turning on him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I allowed myself to be like, no, I You know, like part of me was like, is she? But I was like, I'm going to just go ahead and allow myself to believe that he gets screwed.
All right, here they go. Black alert. Let's do this thing.
I want to know, like, what kind of implant she had to get after that accident.
I'm almost wondering if it's elective because, like, there's a lot of people who have those weird cybernetic implants on this show.
Oh, that just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
like I was like, ow, that poor thing.
It's like they really were like, what's the most painful place that we could clamp these things onto him? Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, Michael is instantly not feeling great about it.
Yeah.
But to her credit, her hands are kind of tied. Yeah. She does not have much power here, which is, you know, interesting that, you know, they have this very powerful female character, but they've literally taken away all the power she has. So,
although I imagine that over the course of the series or season, at least, it's going to be about her sort of like getting that power back.
Yeah, which is a storyline in many films and shows that I really enjoy. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. And this is a pretty great little action beat. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I like it a lot. Just the idea of them, you know, just kind of like coming in out of nowhere, you know, attacking and then leaving. I don't know. It's very clean and very effective.
Yeah.
Get to see some of those new birds of prey.
I love the android.
Yeah.
She's one of my faves.
She, in the book, Desperate Hours, they say that she's basically like from a race which is related to the Bolians, which is why she's blue. And they've sort of adopted cybernetic implants or whatever in order to enhance their whatevers. You know, that's just kind of like what their culture does.
That's very cool.
Which is really not... I mean, there are a lot of like cybernetic implants here and stuff like that, but it's really not far off from all of us having cell phones, which we cannot leave for 2 seconds, you know?
It's very true. There's that cool ship movement again. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like kind of a risk, like leaving before the bombs go off, because how do you know that you disabled all those ships? I mean, I guess they were pretty powerful bombs, but still, I mean, they're gone now. And there's the little girl saying, "Who saved us?" And for all, Disco knows, maybe there's still another bird of prey out there somewhere. You know?
Yeah. I like, though, that they are creating a kind of... the ship is kind of a myth, like this ship that comes and saves people but then disappears, because that explains a lot of why it's not talked about later in the series.
Yeah.
So
really
it makes a very effective and kind of, because a lot of stuff like the experimental stuff gets swept under the rug and people never know about it. So I think that was a really smart move.
Yeah, and that's something which a lot of people have criticized the show for, you know, saying like, well, we know this thing's not going to work, right? So, you know, but then again, we've had a lot of those in Star Trek, you know, whether it's that cloaking device thing from Pegasus or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Or the...
good old Pegasus.
What is it? The transwarp thing from Star Trek 3 and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, our technology keeps advancing, so our idea of technology keeps advancing. So, you know, things that we never would have dreamt of, like cell phones and implants and stuff, when, you know, it was original series or next gen, now we're like, well, why wouldn't we? Like, this is what we would do. We wouldn't do that thing they did.
Yeah.
And here's the reunion.
I'm wondering how they plan to get out of this mess, though, right? Because, I mean, she's beamed on board this ship or whatever, and this is, you know, gives them a nice little pep talk. But not much has changed aside from the fact that there's two of them on here instead of just one, right?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what, I don't know if she has some sort of, she stole a raider.
Okay. There you go. Yeah.
There she said, yeah.
All right.
So that makes a lot more sense.
One thing I will say about these subtitles is they go by a lot fast. I mean, sometimes, you hang on one word for like a minute, but then other times it's like a paragraph, which is up there for a second and a half. And you're like, wait a minute. What? I'm not a speed reader here.
And this is very exciting because I cannot wait to see the matriarchs.
Yeah.
That is going to be so cool. I am very excited for those segments. And here she comes, Michael Burnham. She's hurt another friend. It can't be fun to be her.
No.
She's just like nobody loves her. She created this relationship with the tardigrade and now he's hurt. He's hurt by her. And
she probably also knows that, Lorca's going to use this guy again and again and again.
Mm-hmm. And she's, that's sad. It's a very sad, she's bringing the spores, trying to apologize. And
yeah.
And there's that package still beeping.
Yeah. Seems like kind of a design flaw. I mean, I guess, sometimes packages are very urgent, but she could probably hold off on the telescope for the time being.
I love the pillowcase. I kind of want one.
Yeah, they better make those. That and the dishes that Lorca was eating off of earlier in the episode. I want one of those.
Yeah. The badges are fantastic. I just love, they're so very cool looking. They're very well designed.
Yeah, I did get one of those when I was at the convention.
Nice.
Yeah. They're pretty cheap. The one thing that's actually not that expensive. They're only like $15. And they're like these magnetic backed thingies. They've also
I need to pick those up then.
They've also got like little ones, which are maybe like an inch or so, which you can use as like a lapel pin. It's like the same exact thing, just smaller. And those are only like $5. Pretty cool.
I need to get on the Roddenberry company and see what we've got. Christmas coming up.
There you go.
I love Tilly's whole thing about how like she always tries to come up with, well, my mom would say, and she's like, no, just kidding. My mom was awful to me. She hated me. I just wanted to try and be nice.
Yeah.
She's a very darling and comforting character. And I think that she balances out the show a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. You really need someone like that when everyone else on the show is super dark or depressed or whatever, and nothing good happens ever. It's almost like watching 24.
Yeah. It's like Murphy's Law of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
And there she is. She's back. Michelle Yeoh.
This part gets me right in the feels. I hope that we get to see some more flashback moments with the two of them throughout the show.
I imagine we will.
So,
I mean, they said at the New York Comic-Con that, she will be back, which obviously now she is, but I don't know. I mean, she seems to be in Toronto a lot these days. If you look at, sort of like social media or whatever, I wouldn't be surprised if we get to see Mirror, Georgiou and everything like that. But yeah.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, I think she'll be around. So.
Very, very touching, because I think Michael is kind of realizing that she did not, learn the thing that Georgiou wanted her to learn.
Yeah.
From her tutelage,
It's almost like this message is just sort of a reflection of all of her missed potential, you know?
Right. And I think that now she's ready to follow that, to achieve what her captain wanted her to achieve.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see her working towards that goal. There's the telescope.
There it is.
Yeah. So they must have gone in and cleaned up the bodies of the crew and
yeah, that's true.
Because the you know, so, and everything that was important.
Yeah, I guess that does make sense. Mm-hmm. All right. So that was The Butcher's Knife Cares Not for the Lamb's Cry. I'm getting it. I think I've got the title down now. And so yeah, overall pretty good. I don't know. I mean, I don't I'm trying to resist the urge to like rank these things, but I have to say that I like the way the series is progressing, and with each new chapter, I'm more and more intrigued, you know?
Yeah. I think that, you know, they have a wider narrative for this series than kind of the more episodical nature of original series and Next Gen and so many of the other ones. So they have a wider story arc that goes through the whole season, but you know, they kind of, last episode was like horror themed. So they had, you know, it was structured a lot more like a horror film. And this one was, you know, more like that kind of procedural scientific mystery drama. And so I think that they're trying to capture a little bit of that episodical feel in the more of the structure of each episode then.
Yeah. And I think that's a thing that, you know, good TV does, regardless of, you know, that thing. I mean, I remember, you know, Ron Moore talking about how, you know, even though BSG was super episodic, like everything needed to work on its own, you know, and be structurally sound and all that stuff. And I think that this show definitely does that too, which is cool.
Yeah. I love it. I want more of it every week. That's so something that like makes me be like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for next week. That's how I know it's pushing my buttons, so to speak. Yeah,
it's definitely, you know, something which I'm anxiously anticipating. Is definitely the highlight of my week, every single week. So it's cool. All right. So Sarah, where can people find you on the internet?
So on Twitter, you can find me at I am Sarah Buck, SarahBuck. You can find my writing on talkfilmsociety.com, and you can find me on Instagram if you want to look at pictures of my kid and my dinner. And that one's at Nerd Fancy, like Cat Fancy, but for nerds.
Cool. You can find me right here on Trek FM doing a show called Stage 9. And you can also find me on thenerdparty.com doing a show called Great Shot Kid. And you can find me on my website, commentarytrackstars.com, doing a show called Commentary Trackstars. And you can also find me on Twitter at Mumbles3K. Well, be sure to check out our Discovery coverage throughout the week. Live from the Edge airs on Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern and will be released as a podcast on Tuesday mornings. Then this show, our commentary, will be available on Wednesday, and we'll discuss your feedback on Postcards from the Edge on Thursday. And of course, you can catch our full analysis on the Edge main show on Friday. To wrap up the week, join us for Notes from the Edge on Saturday for links between Discovery and the broader franchise. You'll find all of these shows in the main feed for the Edge or also the Trek FM master feed. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Discovery. The best place to do that is in the Babel Conference, which is our listener group on Facebook, where Amy Nelson will collect your feedback for Postcards from the Edge. You can also find us on Twitter at TrekFM, and you can send us an email using the contact form on our website at trek.fm/contact. Just choose to send to a show and choose the Edge. We'd also like to thank our associate producers, Norman C. Lau, Tony Robinson, Thomas Puleo, Lisa Slack, and Shoaib Mirza. Thank you very much, guys, for all your support. If you'd like to help us keep all of our shows going and even become an associate producer yourself, visit patreon.com/trekfm for all the details. All right. Well, thanks again, Sarah. And
thank you.
Yeah, it's cool. 4 episodes down, 11 to go. And
excited.
Yeah, you'll be back on this show next week to discuss the next episode of Star Trek Discovery, whose name I don't know right now, but whatever.